hari ini kembali digelar di Pengadilan Negeri Jakarta Selatan. Hari ini rencananya terdakwa Richard Eliezer, Kuat Ma'ruf, dan Ricky Rizal akan saling memberi keterangan satu sama lain. Dan inilah pemirsa, kondisi terkini di Pengadilan Negeri Jakarta Selatan. Baru saja tepat pukul 10 waktu Indonesia Barat, hakim membuka sidang secara terbuka untuk umum. Dan kita lihat juga 3 terdakwa sudah hadir di sini, yaitu Richard Eliezer, Ricky Rizal, dan Kuat Ma'ruf. Dan untuk mengetahui informasi terkini di Pengadilan Negeri Jakarta Selatan, kita sudah bergabung dengan Febrian Ahmad yang saat ini berada di sana. Febrian? Ya, hari ini merupakan hari di mana ketiga terdakwa akan saling memberikan kesaksian satu sama lain. Seperti apa nanti urutan sidangnya, Febrian?
Ya Maria, benar bahwa hari ini ketiga terdakwa akan menjadi saksi untuk satu sama lain. Artinya sudah hadir tadi kami pantau sejak pukul 9.45 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat. Yang awalnya adalah Richard Eliezer, kemudian tidak lama disusul oleh Ricky Rizal dan juga Kuat Ma'ruf tiba. Dan nanti rencananya untuk Richard Eliezer akan menjadi terdakwa dan juga saksinya adalah Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga Ricky Rizal. Begitupun sebaliknya nanti akan ditukar seperti itu. Untuk terdakwa Ricky Rizal dan juga Kuat Ma'ruf akan menghadirkan Richard Eliezer sebagai saksi. Artinya nanti akan Richard dulu, baru kemudian Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga Ricky Rizal yang akan menjadi terdakwanya. Dan ini juga merupakan salah satu hal yang menarik karena kalau biasanya mereka dihadirkan dalam persidangan sebagai terdakwa dengan saksi-saksi lainnya ataupun saksi ahli lainnya. Namun kini mereka bertiga fokus untuk menjadi saksi satu sama lain sehingga nanti akan ada hal-hal yang dapat dikonfrontasikan langsung dari para terdakwa ini sesuai dengan keterangan yang sudah mereka tuangkan dalam BAP. Dan yang menjadi menarik adalah nanti dalam agenda persidangan akan ada beberapa hal yang menurut pengacara dari Richard Eliezer, BAP dari kedua terdakwa lainnya yakni Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga dari Ricky Rizal yang berbeda dengan BAP awal sehingga hal ini perlu untuk dapat dikonfrontir langsung, ditanyakan langsung bagaimana ketiganya berinteraksi pada saat kejadian yang berkaitan dengan dugaan kasus pembunuhan berencana terhadap Brigadir Yosua. Adapun yang menjadi fokus dari majelis hakim dalam persidangan pada hari ini nantinya adalah akan melihat interaksi antara ketiganya, baik itu dari Richard Eliezer dengan Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga dengan Ricky Rizal, apakah mereka sempat melakukan interaksi pada saat peristiwa tersebut, mulai dari peristiwa TKP di Magelang, kemudian di Saguling dan juga di Duren 3, dan inilah yang akan didalami oleh majelis hakim. Dan sidangnya pun sudah mulai tepat pada pukul 10 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat. Sampai dengan saat ini pun kami juga berada di luar sambil mendengarkan sidang ini sedang berlangsung. Dan majelis hakim juga sudah berada di dalam, pihak dari pengacara juga sudah berada di dalam, serta dengan 3 terdakwa yang akan menjadi saksi pun sudah ada di dalam. Artinya kita akan nantikan keterangan seperti apa yang akan disampaikan. Dan fokusnya sekali lagi adalah interaksi antara ketiganya terkait dengan kasus ini di 3 TKP dari Magelang, Saguling 3 dan juga di Duren 3. Maria.
Baik, Febrian, jika kita lihat di layar kaca saat ini yang sedang disidangkan pertama urutannya sepertinya Richard Eliezer ya, karena duduk di hadapan majelis hakim. Nah, nantinya mungkin apa titik berat dari jaksa penuntut umum dan majelis hakim dari keterangan-keterangan yang akan difokuskan pada hari ini begitu, kalau kita menyinggung keterangan-keterangan yang sudah mereka berikan sebelumnya?
Ya Maria, benar, tadi juga kami katakan bahwa untuk memulai persidangan hari ini yang akan menjadi terdakwa, duduk di kursi terdakwa adalah Richard Eliezer, di mana nanti Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga Ricky Rizal akan menjadi saksi. Dan artinya hal ini juga nanti akan ada beberapa hal yang akan diungkapkan. Dan juga titik beratnya tadi kami sempat berbincang dengan Ronita Lapesi yang merupakan pengacara dari Richard Eliezer, di mana nanti akan ada hal yang akan perlu diangkat lagi. Ini masih berkaitan dengan sarung tangan dari Verdi Sambo, di mana dalam keterangan yang dituangkan dalam BAP dari Richard Eliezer mengatakan bahwa Verdi Sambo mengenakan sarung tangan berwarna hitam dalam mobil untuk menuju masuk ke dalam, kemudian barulah ada aksi penembakan atau pembunuhan terhadap Brigadir Yosua. Dan di BAP yang dimiliki ataupun yang dituangkan oleh Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga Ricky Rizal sebelumnya. Ini pun mereka menyatakan hal yang sama, yakni Verdi Sambo menggunakan sarung tangan berwarna hitam. Kemudian BAP tersebut dicabut oleh Kuat Ma'ruf dan juga Ricky Rizal, digantikan dengan mereka menyatakan mereka tidak melihat Verdi Sambo menggunakan sarung tangan tersebut. Nah, hal inilah yang akan ditanyakan ataupun dikonfrontasikan langsung kepada kedua terdakwa yang juga menjadi saksi dari Richard Eliezer. Mengapa mereka merubah BAP tersebut? Padahal menurut Richard Eliezer, Verdi Sambo jelas menggunakan sarung tangan.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Monday. You're shaking off hopefully you don't have any more leftovers in your fridge. I ate the last of the stuffing this morning. We're back. It's going to be a big week.
We had so much news, and there was a potential that I was maybe having to go on a secret trip, but I didn't. But we booked Alex Wilhelm from TechCrunch to join us today. So we chopped it up. First, we talked about Pipe's co-founders abruptly stepping down, all these rumors online of malfeasance, Harry responding to the rumors, and just breaking down the lessons of these kind of situations for investors and founders.
Yep, exactly. How we get there and how we avoid it in the future. Then we have a great conversation about what's been happening in China with all of those protests, and then Apple's involvement and arguable misstep in its new iOS rollout, but what the future might look like in China and for the Xi Jinping regime.
You might not know this, but Apple's been building iPhones in another country. We'll tell you which one. And then we're going to end with some interesting statistics about this year's Black Friday spending. 2 services are surging in their usage, and a couple of older legacy services are collapsing. We'll explain the trends in consumer spending on today's show.
It's going to be a great show.
Stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by LinkedIn Marketing. To redeem a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit and launch your first campaign, go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. Supergut. The holidays are here, and between the eating, drinking, and traveling, for many of us, it can be a hard time to maintain good health. The secret to surviving them? A well-balanced gut. Supergut is the easiest and tastiest way, scientifically proven, to boost gut health and all that comes with it. From weight loss to immunity, get 30% off their delicious shakes, bars, and fiber mix at supergut.com by using code TWIST. And Fitbod. Tired of doing the same workouts at the gym? Fitbod will build you personalized workouts that help you progress with every set. Get 25% off your subscription or try out the app for free when you sign up now at fitbod.me/twist.
All right, everybody, it's Monday. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Molly, how's your Thanksgiving?
It was epic. It was like a march. My Thanksgiving. I hosted 3 dinners and a brunch, and I did the turkey trot. It was
3 dinners.
I hosted 3 dinners and a brunch. Wow. Yep. Yeah.
3 men and a baby. Whoa.
This was like it was a weird year because like some people got COVID and then there was like a family situation. And so I had to kind of spread out the dinners. Instead of having one big one, I had 3 smallish dinners and then a big ladies brunch with bagels and lox. And it was just a whole freaking delightful. It was so great. And I'm tired.
Well, yeah, we knew you were going to be tired. I'm exhausted after my Dallas trip. So we brought Alex Wilhelm in here from the TechCrunch. How are you, Alex? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was just me, my spouse, in-laws, and 5 dogs. So yeah, on the whole, lovely.
How many dogs do you now have? And how many are the in-laws' dogs?
We have 3. They have 2, but their 2 dogs are Weimaraners. So they're small horses. No. And so it's like 3 little dogs and then 2 horses. And trying to keep all 5 of them from eating one another is brutal. But it's fun. It's like hard fun, you know, like not that annoying sort of thing. Yeah.
It's like when you have 5 kids running around. At times it turns into chaos, and other times it's fun. I went to Dallas to see the in-laws.
There was some grumbling. How was it?
It rained for 5 days straight. And when I say rain, I mean torrential rain to the level that at 3 or 4 in the morning, it's so hard on the roof that you will wake up. You know, that level of rain.
Yes.
So I wasn't able to go work out, wasn't able to go on hikes or anything. So I basically ate meat, Korean barbecue, then what do they call that? Brazilian?
Yeah, I know
they
what
cut
you mean.
the meat at the side. It wasn't fogo de chao. It was
Fogo
another
de
one
chao.
that was
Oh, yeah, yeah.
exceptional, like a high-end version of that. And then I went to the best Italian restaurant, which on the top floor, a place called Monarch in Dallas. It was very nice. But I would say, everything is very large in Dallas, is my perception. Every guy looks like a linebacker from the Dallas Cowboys. The serving sizes are absurd. And when I say absurd, Alex and Molly, we ordered a creme brulee for $1 for $5. It was absurdly large.
Yeah. It's like a pumpkin pie.
It basically was like they served it in a pie dish. Yeah, exactly correct. The highways are absurdly large. The off-ramps are bigger than the 405 freeway. I mean, it is. And then the airport, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, is ginormous. So everything is bigger in Texas, has in fact been confirmed.
That's because it's flat.
Confirmed.
There's nothing there. You can just build. There's no pesky mountain ranges or rivers. Well,
Nick really wants to know if you saw the world's largest highway intersection, which is, I think we may have to take a field trip because Nick has a lot of feelings and obsession with the world's largest highway intersection.
I mean, every one of these intersections, I kid you not, it's like the 101. It'd be like you take the 101 or the 280 here in the Bay Area, and those are the exit ramps. I mean, it's just the scale of things is crazy. And then there's all these houses in Dallas that cost $600 a square foot. I was starting to have like, what is it? They call it like the Zillow porn kind of thing, where I visited somebody's house and they had like a 15,000 square foot house on like just a walking street. And the house just goes on and on and on. And they told me a joke.
Which was the price?
No, yeah, $600 a square foot. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They said, hey, Alex, you ever think of building your own home? Like having a movie theater and a massage room and like a Japanese tub? You ever think about like designing your own home?
I mean, if I'm particularly high at that moment, maybe, but.
Yeah. And so Molly, like you ever think like, oh, wow, I could have like a yoga room and like a proper studio and a guest house. And maybe like an extra kitchen, like a commercial kitchen. That house is waiting for you in Dallas. Like you don't have to build it. It's there.
They've just
you
done
just
it.
have to go buy it.
Yeah, but then I have to live in Dallas, and
that's the other problem.
Disrespect to your in-laws, but I'd sooner move to like the bottom of Antarctica.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
I like Austin.
Sounds like the food's pretty good.
The food was pretty great. Everything, and it's just nice to see family. And I literally did about a third of the amount of work I usually do on these weekends, but that didn't stop our chat from going off at just a violent velocity.
Yeah,
Alex, Molly and I have been talking about this on the program. Is there something going on that in the last year, the pace of news seems different than the last 20?
Oh, I'm very curious. Acceleration or deceleration?
Just the number of stories
velocity.
And the velocity of the stories and the absolute insanity or seeming insanity of the stories. I mean, just maybe on the news cycle, are we experiencing like a tsunami of news right now?
Yeah,
Does it feel like?
I think it's just the hangover from last year. I mean, we saw so much crazy stuff happen last year in terms of like deal size, valuations, lack of diligence and so forth. And now we're seeing kind of the comeuppance for that. So I'm not shocked that it's this crazy, but I will say waking up to bankruptcy filings on Monday morning does feel like an aberration from where we were up until early this year. So yeah, it's different. I agree.
So Molly, I think this roller coaster theory, like, those super roller coasters where it's like straight up and you're like, oh my God, this is insane. This is insane. You're just saying this is insane. And then you get to the top and then you really actually see what insanity is about. It's the way down. That is truly insane.
It's also not political news. It's news in our wheelhouse. So it probably feels like for years and years, there was just an intensity of political news and that was like nonstop. And so on Marketplace, that was all we would talk about economics and politics and COVID. And now there's almost the same, volume of water coming over the waterfall, but it's all our stories. So it's like, whoa, man.
I don't like the spotlight. Someone get me out of here.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think the great thing to do at times like this is where journalists and commentators can be helpful, is breaking down this news and the lessons learned inside of the news. How did we get here? What can you learn from it? What can you take away from it in your day-to-day? I met the Pipe founders many times over the last couple of years, pipe.com. Really smart cats. Harry Hurst being the leader of the group. And I thought a very innovative business model. A couple of my friends, I think Chamath and Sachs, both invested in Pipe. I'm not sure which rounds, but a very clever idea as pitched to me. Hey, you have reoccurring revenue. We'll take that reoccurring revenue and not factor it and give you an advance like a bank might, but we will put it on a marketplace and let people who are looking for a return bid for it. They can pay 90 cents on the dollar for next year's subscription revenue, whether that subscription revenue was a Netflix service or a Slack service. But something went wrong on the way to heaven. So maybe you could tee this up, Molly, and then Alex, you can give us your thoughts on what happened here.
Yes. So, well, I think you set it up pretty well, which is this was this startup darling, this marketplace where companies with recurring revenue could sell that future ARR. What seems to have gone wrong, and let's go through a little bit actually before I get to what went wrong. What was going right was that Pipe was raising tons of money. The valuation was ballooning. In September 2020, they raised a $66 million seed round. 26 million of that was from VC, 40 million was debt at $166 million valuation led by Kraft. By July 2021.
And you did say seed round.
Seed round, $66 million. They raised a Dallas-sized seed round. in
Seed
round at $166 million valuation.
Got it.
And then, a little over a year later in July, not quite a year, $250 million they raised at a $2 billion valuation. So their Series A, I assume, was a $2 billion valuation that was led by Greenspring. And then again, according to PitchBook, in October 2021, Pipe raised an undisclosed amount at an undisclosed valuation. So that's obviously when everything was going awesome. And then last week, all three founders quit. Like abruptly stepped down is the way to put it, according to a TechCrunch article. Hey, we know them. Hearst said the following over email. Pipe's founders have, quote, always known that the next phase of Pipe's growth would include a veteran operational leader. So they said that they initially started a search for a COO in the second quarter and then realized the role that they were defining was actually that of a CEO. And that the whole point of them stepping down was to help the company reach true long-term potential. Hearst added, quote, we're 0 to 1 builders, not at-scale operators. Said traction, not the problem. He said Pipe is on track to triple revenue in 2022. And then Pipe told TechCrunch, who we know, that 22,000 companies have used Pipe and there's $7 billion of ARR has been connected to the platform.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with my pal, Tom Eschbacher. He is the senior sales manager at LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. And today, we're going to talk about marketing for startups. And LinkedIn did a great new internal report called Today in Startup Marketing. Welcome to the program, Tom.
Thanks, Jason.
One of the main topics covered in the report is validating product market fit. That's so essential. So how does marketing play a role in validating PMF?
One of the challenges from the pandemic was it disrupted normal feedback loops that startups get, and particularly when trying to scale assumptions based on small sample sizes. You can't go to conferences anymore. You can't do events. And so we've seen a clever adoption of LinkedIn's free analytics tools here. And one that's become table stakes, and I mean 92% of Series A startups are using it, is the LinkedIn Insight tag. A feature here is the website demographics functionality that provides a valuable view on your site visitors' professional attributes. What's their job function, their seniority level, what company are they at, the industry, the company size. This is all a bunch of actionable insight that you can use to back up your instincts around who your addressable market is and help inform early marketing strategies.
Fantastic. Okay, and so if you would like to get this incredible report, you can go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. And not only can you get the report for free, you're also going to get $100 off your first marketing campaign from Tom at LinkedIn. Way to go, Tom.
Do we buy this story?
There's another story from TechCrunch coming. By the time people hear this on a podcast, it might be out. I went ahead and pre-read the draft with permission from my dear colleague, Marianne. And, Molly, there were some tweets about some possible improprieties or some possible bad decisions made involving tens of millions of dollars. And then there was a Twitter storm from, I think Harry himself talking about kind of a response to it. What I'm really curious about is from your guys' kind of venture perspective, where does this net out between the allegations of, bad loans to crypto mining firms, taking too much money off the table, loans against shares to the rebuttal? Where do you guys now sit in vetting this company's health and ethics?
Okay, so a lot to unpack here. This was obviously a great idea.
The allegations, by the way, I didn't get to that more.
Yeah, maybe we could just give us the high-level bullet points on the allegations. Right. Just so the audience understands.
So then a tweet popped up from Tyler Hogg saying because of course everybody on Twitter was like, what is actually happening?
Right.
And this is a now deleted tweet in which the 4 people supposedly shared what had happened, and that included the Pipe CEO loaning $80 million to a Bitcoin mining company and didn't tell the board about it, lost it all. The board reportedly fired the CEO months ago. They had all sold a bunch of secondaries and may have taken out personal loans as well. And I want to reiterate that tweet has since been deleted. But then Harry did respond with this long tweet storm, responding basically and saying that these rumors have become so outlandish that I need to come and defend what's happened.
Yeah. So he said
Tyler Hogg, by the way, is a scout for A16Z.
Okay. The board didn't fire us months ago, Harry says. We haven't loaned $80 million to a Bitcoin mining company and lost it all. We do have some customers in the space, but none of them have gone to zero. Okay, so there's some truth to that. Whenever you see these rumors, typically it's somebody with an axe to grind. And in this case, it might be somebody who's an angel investor or a smaller investor who feels Pipe screwed them, and this was a big part of their portfolio. So I would say if you're going to pin the leak, and we're all experienced journalists here, it's either a former management team member who had some inside information or an investor who feels Harry wronged him. So when things come apart and people lose money, then people start talking. And if they have an axe to grind, they're going to grind it and they're going to sharpen that axe to make the other person look terrible. Here he says, we haven't loaned $80 million to a Bitcoin mining company and lost it all. We do have some customers in the space. Okay, so there's some truth to it, but none of them have gone to zero. Okay, that's not very good. It does mean there probably is some investment that went bad. Now, did they loan it to a mining company, or did they use their cash reserves to then give them or to buy some of their future revenue? It might have been that Harry looked at, hey, the future revenue of this Bitcoin mining company looks really good. I'll take that action, right? You could buy future revenue. So maybe he used the house money to buy future revenues. And maybe that people feel was unethical. I'm just purely speculating here of what's the difference between Harry's comment and the leak.
Yeah.
And that's really what we do as journalists, is try to triangulate, hey, what's the truth here? If this thing was still growing, it would be fine. Now, the other possibility here is with the secondary offerings, and that's going to be really the story that's going to be unpacked in a major way for this era of Silicon Valley. It's totally fine, and we've talked about this before on the program, to take a little secondary, pay for your home, pay down your mortgage, you maybe have $1 or $2 million in the bank. What happened during this last period is you have things like the Hopin CEO selling 9 figures worth of shares in the company, and then the company collapsing. Or having troubles, headwinds, whatever you want to describe it. So here, what probably happened is there's some resentment. The founder sold who knows how many tens of millions of shares. I'm going to guess it was in the tens of millions, because that would be the amount that I would consider maybe too much.
Egregious, maybe.
But listen, people bought them. So these are sophisticated investors who offered to buy their shares. So there is that as well. The board and the governance is the underlying issue here and the imbalance. So what probably happened here, there are investors who didn't get to sell in secondary. These founder shares happened in that person's mind covertly. Now, they may have happened with the blessing of the board, but they're not under obligation to tell those seed investors. Those people are like, hey, you got to sell at $2 billion. Now the company I perceive is worth $500 million, $1 billion, whatever it's worth. It's still growing. It's going to be here. It's not a zero, but why didn't I get to sell at that peak valuation? And you did these other things. So they're kind of building a case against the founders. That's really just so people understand what's happening here. There's your version of the truth. There's my version of the truth. There's the actual truth. Rashomon is the famous Kurosawa film. And that's what we're seeing here. Harry's got his version. The disgruntled person has theirs. This other third party is the proxy sharing the information.
Okay, let me clarify here with a question for you guys. If you were in a startup and all the founders quit and they came to you and said, look, we need to find someone who can run this thing. Do you say, great, maturity? People used to bring in operational CEOs back in the day. Google had one. Good idea. Or are you guys freaking out if you get that phone call from a portfolio company? Because to me, it sounds in this climate like an insanity. The idea that founders would give up control for a better CEO who has more operational experience lost all of its in-market standing. I think it's a concept in the last couple of years.
Molly, did you say that the leak claimed he was pushed out months ago? Mm-hmm. He's claiming he moved up to vice chair and
He's claiming he moved up to vice chair and was looking for something operational. Now, I mean, I can tell you, and again, I'm somewhat new here, but we're clearly seeing the pendulum swing back toward, away from founders are the god kings of the universe and can do no wrong until they do so many wrong things that we all of a sudden have to revert to bring in the grown up. So I don't think that it's taken at face value. I don't think that it's a negative sign for founders to say we want to bring in somebody operational as a CEO. If they quit first, right? There's just too much smoke here. If they've all stepped down and then said, we're looking for an operational leader, there's a question. If all of a sudden it's, some allegations have emerged and Harry is writing this tweet storm that's like, well, yeah, I 100% sold a bunch of stuff on the secondary. I support that. I wrote a piece
saying it's the right thing to do.
Saying it's the right thing to do, right? I didn't lose a ton of money on Bitcoin loans, but I made some. Like, it's all of a sudden you have smoke that's unrelated to, do you need an operator as a CEO?
So, all right. We don't know if he was pushed out, if he voluntarily moved out of the position or not.
Right? There's him, but there's all three co-founders. That's what's such a big deal here. They're all
this reads to me like there was the company there were feelings from the investors the company was being not managed properly. And so I'm just going to put it gracefully. Some investors might have thought it's been completely mismanaged and a debacle. Other people might be, hey, there's headwinds in the industry. We need to get somebody in here to steady the ship, just like Peloton did, right? So when I look at this, I think it's a dereliction of duty for the founders to leave without the CEO in place.
Yes. Why leave before?
That's how I feel. It's a dereliction of duty. Now,
exactly.
That's if they chose to leave. We don't know that yet. So if they were forced out, then they weren't able to fulfill their duty, which is to stay with the ship until the ship makes it to dock, or they're the last people to get off the ship. And if there's no room in the lifeboats, they sink with it, right? I'm hardcore. I'm old school. You don't leave the ship without a captain.
You don't leave the ship.
That's like the pilots leaving the cockpit and not handing the controls over. You hand the controls over, you move to the co-pilot seat, then you move to the jump seat, the navigator seat, and then you give them one last, are you sure we can leave the ship here and go on the board?
We're kicking it in the back by the bathroom, having mini bottles of vodka, but we are looking for a new pilot.
And again, we don't know the details yet. So
but vice chairman.
But we still know that the order is wrong. The cart is way ahead of the horse here in terms of leadership of this company.
And people spin this stuff, right, Alex? So you'll, as a journalist, have had this experience, Molly, as well. The CEO will tell you this was totally voluntary. The leaker will say, yeah, you know what? The board was at their wit's end, and they gave them an ultimatum, get somebody on board. And then en masse, they said, okay, well, we'll just all resign. And so the truth is probably between these two extremes.
Yeah.
What I will say is there's two things to note here. They started to search for a CEO. So just in terms of lessons, if we may move to the lesson part of this, if you're a founder or a co-founder, you got three co-founders, and you're searching for like a COO to do operations, one of the three you need to buck up and get the operations dialed in. Stop with this like COO stuff. There's three of you. Get control of the ship. Stop going to parties. Stop living the life in Miami. Go to the office. Don't leave the office. Work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week until the ship is tight. That didn't happen here. I can assure you that these three founders were not at the office 7 days a week for 18 hours a day. Be dogged.
Is that your Miami party move?
This is my Miami party move.
You got to be hardcore when your ship is having a problem. Again, back to if the plane is hitting turbulence, if there's an engine out, that's when you become the goddamn COO. That's when you do whatever it takes. And I don't feel like, I know based on what I'm reading here, that there was not a hardcore, let's right the ship And this idea that we're 0 to 1 builders, not at scale operators. If you could do 0 to 1, you could do the operating stuff. Okay. It's just a focus issue. It is your personal preference. So I don't want to say there's some entitlement here, but this screams a little bit of entitlement. I want to do the 0 to 1 fun stuff. I want to build product, but I don't want to put out the fires. I don't want to figure out what's wrong with the engines. I don't want to fly through turbulence. You know what, Harry? Buck up. In fact, he did bail. If they all jumped out with parachutes, golden parachutes, in fact, not cool. If they were pushed out with golden parachutes, okay, that's not their issue. So I'm going to give both messages. If Harry got pushed out,
or
not
it's
your
their issue, and that's why. Either way, there's an issue.
Yeah.
Something went wrong with the management of the company to get to this point. But I mean,
exactly. Your board doesn't push you out for no reason either.
No, because the board doesn't want to be known as a group that pushes out founders.
Because you have a very small chance.
Right. Like these days, especially, people are not getting pushed out for no reason.
No.
Anyway.
It's disappointment. I thought it was a cool model.
All right, listen, the holidays are almost here. And for many of us, this